From Namor to Nandor, nerds like a lot of things, but there's something they love above all else, and that is correcting people. This is Actually. And joining us today, we're doing a very special All-Stars episode. These are some of our winningest contestants, some contestants that you specifically wanted to see duke it out head to head to head. Today, we have John Goots Gutierrez.
Greetings.
We have Erika Ishii.
Hello, it's me.
And Brennan Lee Mulligan.
Hello, one and all.
A very villainous tone from...
Why?
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 Me?
Why would you say such a thing, Michael Crap?
Today will be the day of Brennan's undoing. I will make a fool of him yet. We'll see if he really knows what bullshit's going on the Enterprise. Well, you've all been on here. You've all won, some of you handily. Some good, strong scorers in this one. How's everyone doing?
Doing great. Life is good. I'm here in my apartment.
That's wrong. That's false.
Am I not allowed to leave? And is our country rapidly cratering? Was the worst handling of a global pandemic of any country in the world? Perhaps. On the other side, you have to make yourself happy or you won't be able to work.
Capitalism.
Fake it till you make it was maybe overly optimistic. So let's just go with fake it.
I both anticipate and dread the coming of the morning.
The best thing that could possibly happen is by the time this episode comes out, people go like, oh, those poor fools. They don't know it's getting better just around the corner. They're so dour. I don't think that's going to happen, but maybe we can hope.
It's still better than my estimate, which was that we would put this into some spacecraft. We shoot it out into space so that other worlds can see that we once mattered. We once existed.
Well, with that, let's just jump right into it. You've all played before. You know how this works. If you are just joining us for the first time, this is Actually. I have here a stack of statements, incorrect statements, but the things you know and love. It's up to these fine folks to find the thing that's wrong and correct me. All the corrections must be preceded with the phrase actually, and they can interrupt me whenever they want to get the correction that they need across. That's all there is to it. Let's jump right in. Our first question here is about Doctor Who. In the episode A Christmas Carol, the Doctor and Rose arrive in Cardiff, Wales on Christmas Eve of 1869 to discover a zombie outbreak. They enlist the help of none other than Charles Dickens, and with his assistance discover the zombies are being caused by ghost-like aliens called Gelf. Yes, John has buzzed in.
Actually, that's not A Christmas Carol. It has a different title.
That's correct.
Oh my God!
Do you know what it's called?
I want to say Christmas in Wales, but I think that's a little too on the nose for Doctor Who.
This episode was called The Unquiet Dead.
So it's called The Unquiet Dead. It makes zero reference to the fact that Charles Dickens is just there to help.
Because I think, okay, now here, somebody else can correct me on this, but I think there's another episode that's called A Christmas Carol. And it is literally the only episode of Doctor Who I have seen where there's like flying sharks.
Yes, Erika, you're correct. There is, in fact, a separate episode called A Christmas Carol that is basically just the Christmas Carol story that is set on a spaceship instead. With a lot of Doctor Who specifics, they have both an episode that is A Christmas Carol and also an episode in which they meet Charles Dickens and have some Victorian-related adventures.
The weight of the canon of Doctor Who. Like, Fonz jumped over sharks in a show where the parameters of reality were like friends at a diner. And like, that's how crazy that got. If you are starting at like Time Lord and then you're like, whoa, we've been going for 40 seasons. What the hell are
What is their version of Jump the Shark? What could they possibly do beyond transcending time and space rules?
Well, that point will go to Goots for identifying that is not a Christmas Carol. Christmas Carol's a different thing. The Ents in Lord of the Rings have two native languages. Old Entish is only spoken by Ents. It was difficult to translate and almost entirely impossible to pronounce for other species. However, New Entish incorporates elements of the Elven language Quenya, and is thus easier for other species to translate when characters like Treebeard speak it. Yes, Brennan.
Actually, I don't know if this is your answer, but I can solve this. Actually, Tom Bombadil also speaks Old Entish.
So
I love that. I'll take that even if I don't get a point. I'll take the all day.
So you have found what's wrong, which is that more than just Ents speak Old Entish. So I'll give you the point if you can either tell me what that thing is, and if you can't, I'll give Erika or Goots a chance to scoop it, and if you don't, I'll give you that thing.
The Hjorns. Do you know? Do you know the Hjorns?
I do know the Hjorns. In fact, that is the answer I'm looking for.
Hjorns, baby! Hjorns all day. They're halfway between trees and Ents, and they fuck up the Uruk-hai after the Battle of Helm's Deep. Shout out to Hjorns. We love the Hjorns.
So we'll give you the point for getting that. We'll move on. Our next question is about comics. The comic Chew follows FBI agent Tony Chew, who has an unusual superpower. Known as sebapathy, Tony is essentially a food psychic. When he eats something, he gains information about its history, how it was killed, where it was grown, etc. This ability can even work when consuming human flesh, though oddly, it doesn't work on beets.
Actually, in the comic Chew, this is not an unusual power. Lots of people have it.
It is, that is true, but it is still unusual from our perspective.
You will dodge. My correct guess is, viewers at home, all of us are trapped in our apartments and houses. You know where I'm going.
In the comments.
You know what I'm going to ask you to do.
There's no room in the comments. You don't need
your
to be
friends.
there.
Get in the comments.
Well, I will not give you that point. Anyone else have a guess? Erika.
He's not part of the FBI. He's part of the chicken busting squad.
Erika, you did not say actually.
Actually. God damn it.
Oh. I got to abide by this. I will say
it's
a more specific answer than chicken busting squad, although you are you've basically down there. Goots, can you be more specific than
I don't want to win this way.
Not like this. Not like this. I'll tell you what here, Erika, I'm going to give you a chance to redeem yourself. If you could tell me what it is, it's not the chicken busting squad or the chicken chasing squad. If you can tell me what group he is affiliated with.
I'm going to say that he's affiliated with the Vice Squad.
That's incorrect. I'm going to say no points for this one, just because this feels very messy. I'm going to wipe the slate clean. Brennan.
Actually.
Yes.
He's not part of the FBI. He's in some chicken squad.
I mean, Brennan, that's just what Erika said.
What? What are you talking about?
Boy, I've been in this meeting a lot in my life.
That was my idea. I said that.
Well, I'm sorry I'm lashing out because I already said the correct thing, which is that the power is not unusual in that world.
He's not a member of the FBI. He is a member of the FDA. It's all food crimes. You were correct. You just couldn't quite get there. I think Brennan has paused in the silliest possible way. So I will wait for Brennan to return somehow. Hey, he's back.
Hello.
Oh, so unfortunately, no points for that one. But Erika, the point is true in your heart. It's there. Here is a fan-submitted question from one of our viewers submitting this question. This is from Colby. In Nickelodeon's Avatar franchise, the ability to bend elements is given to mortals by great beasts of the world. The firebenders learn to firebend from dragons, the earthbenders learn from the badger moles, the airbenders from the sky bison, and the waterbenders from the spirits of the moon and the ocean. John.
Actually, while they learn their techniques by copying those, they're actually bestowed by giant turtles. That the lion turtles actually give them the powers to do that.
That is correct. In The Legend of Korra Season 2, episode Beginnings, it was retconned that benders gained their magic from the mythical lion turtles, just as you said. So that is correct. It is from the Lion Turtles.
I don't think it's totally retconned because the last episode or two of the original series involve a lion turtle as well. That's how Aang eventually gets powerful enough and learns his lessons to defeat the Fire Lord, if I remember correctly.
He teaches Aang energy bending, which is used in the final battle. But he doesn't actually mention, by the way, I also gave you guys all of these powers.
Yeah.
You really should be thanking me. It just never really comes up in the conversation.
How come no one ever thanks me?
When we say that these powers are given by lion turtles,
Yes.
Is it one lion turtle, or is it just man, I got to go out there and find some lion turtle somewhere to get some of these fucking dope powers?
They establish in Korra that back in the early times, essentially there were 4 turtles with people living on their back, and each turtle would give them each an elemental power. So there was earth, there was fire, there was water, and there was one person who went up and met all of the turtles, and eventually he ended up getting the powers to become the first Avatar. Juan, I believe his name was.
I'd love it if you were right about everything, but way off on Juan. It's all these specifics were correct, and it's no, his name wasn't Juan. Where'd you get that from? It just sounded right.
I may or may not have a 90-part fan fiction that I'm trying to sell.
You're trying to sell a fan fiction to whom? How?
Simon and Schuster. Well, that
Avatar 1 is the first Avatar, by the way. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Great. I mean, he's number 1. We'll go on. We'll move on from that. We don't have to look. We don't have to dwell on that. This will bring us to our first shiny question of the game. Shiny questions, of course, like shiny Pokemon with the same amount of points, just a little bit different and a little bit rarer. This is going to be a game that we call Name That Martian. We're going to do a sort of kind of lightning round sort of thing where we're going to show these Martians and let you buzz in for each one. Whoever can name the most Martians will get the point. Let's take a look at that first Martian. That was Goots buzzing in first.
It's Amy Wong.
That is Amy Wong. All right, let's take a look at the next Martian. That is Goots again.
Bobby Draper.
That is Bobby Draper from The Expanse. I will reset your buzzers, and let's look at that next Martian. That is Goots followed by Brennan.
Deja Thoris.
That is Deja Thoris.
What the fuck?
From the John Carter Barsoom series.
I almost said Thuvia Maid of Mars, which would have been so embarrassing. That's the 5th book in the series?
I would have flipped out if you said Thuvia, dude.
All right, let's see that next Martian. That is Erika first.
John Jones, Martian Manhunter.
That is John Jones with Erika. Let's see that next Martian. That is Goots.
Magic Man?
That is Magic Man from Adventure Time, who is actually from Mars. Let's take a look at that next Martian. That is Brennan first.
Marvin! That's Marvin the Martian.
That is indeed Marvin the Martian.
Dude, he's on every single of the coolest jackets in the world, and you cannot forget Marvin the Martian.
What a weird time in the 90s when it was Looney Tunes are fucking cool.
There was the Warner Brothers store, and there was the rocket ship, playpen and everything. Everybody had little monogrammed characters on their polos.
Just see large, masculine, powerful men wearing expensive articles of clothing and then being this is my Marvin the Martian jacket, baby.
Let's take a look at that next Martian. That is Erika first.
That's Spike Spiegel! That's Spike Spiegel, the finest man to ever live! Dang!
That is indeed Spike Spiegel. And let's take a look at that next Martian. Brennan.
This is a young Charles Entertainment Cheese.
Chuck E. Cheese back in his rougher days when he was rolling around town with his biker gang.
He didn't get into the pizza business until later in life. He was a bad boy and a Martian mouse, and his middle name is actually Entertainment. You can look that up.
This is not Mr. Charles Entertainment Cheese.
Oh, they were such clearly delineated characters. I wish I could remember. So fully fleshed out and round. Oh.
All right, so it sounds like a pass then from Eric and John, unless you want to just take a wild stab.
I was going to suggest Hambone. I don't know if that's better or worse.
It's not Hambone. It's maybe closer. This is Throttle from Biker Mice from Mars. No points for that one. Let's take a look at our next and maybe last Martian. Brennan.
Actually, this is Frandithan Marsman. Frandithan Marsman.
Look, we all love Frandithan Marsman, a beloved pop culture figure, but no, this is not Frandithan Marsman. Goots, you had buzzed in. Do you know who this is?
I believe it's Uncle Martin from My Favorite Martian.
Is Uncle Martin from My Favorite Martian. So that is 5 Martians identified by Goots, 2 from Erika, and 1 from Brennan. So that point will go to Goots. I love the diversity of Martians. I love that we we as a society constantly return to Mars as being this the next closest planet. There's got to be something there, but our conception of what a Martian looks like is just anything from just a normal person to whatever the fuck Marvin is.
Humans are from after Mars has been terraformed.
That's true. They're settlers of Mars instead of
sort of you could have put Matt Damon on there too, because he's technically
that's true.
Martian.
3 points for Goots, 1 point for Brennan. Erika, probably should have had one, but unfortunately we had to take it away from her because I am a cruel host.
I lost that point on a technicality, and as a nerd, that is something I stand behind.
It's the holidays, it's hectic, but HelloFresh is here to help make things simple with recipes that cut back on meal prep time and cleanup so you can spend less time in the kitchen and more time with your friends and family. Ingredients travel from the farm straight to your door within a week, so you get all the convenience without skimping on quality. Plus, you get to skip a trip to the grocery store and avoid all those long holiday lines. Look, it's not just for meals. HelloFresh Market has this season's entertaining covered. Why not try out the holiday cheese and charcuterie board? Or the skinny dip dark chocolate peppermint almonds? Save, on average, over $65 a month when you order through HelloFresh instead of grocery shopping. That's a lot of extra money for presents. I tried out HelloFresh, and look, sometimes you just need someone else to do the planning. It was a relief to not have to spend that time to make sure that all my meals were getting enough vegetables, that they wouldn't take too long on busy nights, that they were spread out enough, that I weren't repeating too many recipes. Letting someone else do that, like a little vacation. Go to HelloFresh.com/actually14 and use the code actually14 to get 14 free meals and 3 free gifts. 14 free meals and 3 free gifts just by going to HelloFresh.com/actually14 and using the code actually14. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.
Here we go. This next question is about The Walking Dead. The zombies of The Walking Dead are slow-moving, unintelligent undead, driven by a hunger for flesh. Yes, Brennan, what sort of subjective wording do you have take into it?
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Actually, because the walkers of the Walking Dead are scientifically based, I don't believe that the term undead, which is a supernatural attribution of the phrase. Oh, don't give me the eye roll, Saltzman. I stand by it. But if I once again have guessed correctly, but not on the rails of the show, you want to rob me of another point, by all means, tyrant. Rob away!
This tyranny will not stand. Cannot a man say a correct thing and be proven correct?
Enough is enough.
I think it is fair to say that the walkers of the Walking Dead are undead, even if by the definitions that we in our universe use, even if it's not explicitly used within the universe of the Walking Dead.
Very well. I would like my buzzer reset.
Here we go. Back from the beginning. The zombies of The Walking Dead are slow-moving, unintelligent undead, driven by a hunger for flesh. A single zombie can be dangerous. A bite will infect a victim with the zombie virus. But they are particularly dangerous in large numbers. Zombies in herds tend to be more aggressive and, yes, Goots.
Actually, technically, it won't infect anyone with the zombie virus because everyone in The Walking Dead is already infected with the zombie virus.
That is correct. That is the answer we're looking for. Everyone's already infected. When you die, you just become a zombie, whether or not you are bitten or not. That's just what happens to you after you die. Can you imagine a world where a virus is running rampant and everyone is just trapped inside? Boy, what a piece of fiction that would be. Moving on to our next Every episode we have a moment where we just sort of like reckon with the like.
And we just stare straight into the camera for 5 minutes.
Hello, audience. I think it would be nice if we all just took a moment with each other and connected. So this is me looking at you, you looking at me. Great. The Comics Code. Here's a little bit on comics history. The Comics Code Authority was a self-regulating body that severely limited the content of comic books. Beginning in 1954, some code criteria included a ban on the words horror and terror in comic titles, a ban on ghouls and werewolves, and a requirement that women be drawn realistically without exaggeration of any physical qualities. The CCA is officially defunct. Yes, Brennan.
Actually, that last one was absolutely not one of the restrictions from the Comics Code of Conduct.
You would be surprised to learn that, in fact, it is. Despite what you may have seen and how you might interpret that, that was officially one of the Comics Code rules was women be drawn realistically without exaggeration of any physical qualities.
Whoa. Oh, interesting.
The CCA is officially defunct as of 2011 when DC became the last comics publisher to drop the CCA seal of approval. Erika.
Actually, it listed things that should be restricted, but you could still publish your comic without the approval of the CCA.
That is true. Interesting.
Give Erika the point. You miser.
That is not what I intended here, but that is technically true and does technically.
That's kind of true.
That is here. So I think I will go ahead and give you the point, but I will also reveal the answer I was going for here. So Erika will give you that point. So the answer I was looking for, I said at the very end that DC became the last comics publisher to drop the CCA seal of approval in 2011. In fact, technically it was Archie Comics was the last, which was just like days after DC dropped it. But it was in 2011. It survived for that long before DC and Archie were like, we're not doing this anymore. We're done with this. There's a lot of weird shit in the Authority. Clearly, like all the stuff I listed there, werewolves and stuff. Werewolves is weird. I thought ghouls was weirder because like, to explicitly ban comics about ghouls just feels so old timey. It's like, you know how kids are hungry for ghoul content. Like we gotta get those ghouls.
It's also so funny because a ghoul is like one of the most ill-defined monster concepts I can imagine. Like, gun to your head, be like, name a ghoul. I'm like, it's just kind of a messed up ghoul. Yeah, it's just kind of like a messed up guy, right? Like if I was thinking of a ghoul, I'm like, I don't know, some messed up monster guy.
It's like a spooky thing. A ghoul means like a general spooky thing, right?
Check out this fucked up smart zombie. It's a ghoul. He's like
It's a ghoul.
I think that was one of the many things that were specifically designed in the code to destroy EC Comics, which is why they cut horror and terror from the title and werewolves and all that. And in EC Comics, if you read all the Tales from the Crypts, ghouls are specifically people who eat flesh. They're cannibals. And it's the punchline of a whole bunch of different Tales from the Crypt stories of like, what's behind this? Oh, we're in Ghoul Incorporated, a business that just eats people.
That is a big part of it. They consume flesh. They're also frequently associated with graveyards, grave diggers, or grave robbers.
Ghouls, there you have it. That point went to Erika, not quite catching what we're looking for, but catching something wrong nonetheless. Here is our next statement. In Tolkien's work, Durin's Day is a special day for dwarves, defined as the first day of the last moon of autumn on the threshold of winter. The day has narrative significance in The Hobbit, since the moon letters on Thror's map explain that the last light of Durin's Day reveals a secret door in the Lonely Mountain. Yes, Brennan, and then Goots close behind.
Actually, the light, I believe, doesn't reveal the entire door. It only reveals a keyhole in the side of the mountain.
That is correct.
But there's a more fun answer that I didn't get. And so, once again,
I am trying to decide if that is a pedantic enough specific that I should allow that point or not. I will give you that point unless someone can tell me the thing I'm looking for.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Because you can't see the door, you can only see the keyhole, and he has to rush and put that key in it.
I'll tell you what's crazy. How did they know that thrush was going to knock right then and write it on a map like 20 years before?
Brennan,
That's crazy.
I gotta tell you this, even as a kid, that drove me fucking crazy. when as a kid you should just accept everything and it's fine. I was like, that doesn't make any sense though, because that can't be part of the map. Like, I can't do that with a person. I can't do that with anything. You know, I can't be like, it's like, oh, every day Brennan goes down to the local diner, he gets some chili cheese fries, and I can't be like, hey, turn right at the guy eating chili cheese fries. Like, I can't.
No, but like the guy that's eating chili cheese fries like also has the instruction, and it's been passed down to him. Like, you gotta be in that corner
every day.
I will tell you this: nothing would make me more self-conscious than to be tucking into chili cheese fries and look over my shoulder and see a group of adventurers opening a treasure map based on the regularity with which I ordered chili cheese. I'd be like, we're in a fucking dark place, man. We got to change our diet up. People are making maps based on me coming to this restaurant. This is a bad look for me.
For generations, this lord ass has sat here and fucking shoveled chili cheese into his maw. As reliable as the setting sun. As sure as the day.
Not part of your headpiece of staff of raw. Fuck you guys. I'm gonna go down the road to that Mediterranean place. Fuck all of you.
I'll go ahead and call it here, since this is this is so specific. The day that I described, which is the first day of the last moon of autumn on the threshold of winter, is in fact the new year of the Dwarven calendar, and not Durin's Day. Durin's Day has to occur on that day, but it also has to be true that both the sun and moon are visible in the sky on the first day of the new year. And I include this only to say, fucking complicated system that dwarves have for this very specific day. Especially for like a group of people that are underground a lot, to be like, you ever notice when both the sun and the moon are in the sky on the first day of the new year, which by the way is the first moon of the last day of autumn on the threshold of winter? It's like, no, man, I've never noticed that.
It's like, honestly, dude, I've never even seen the sky. What the fuck are you talking about?
What are either of those things?
The sun?
Yeah, you've just said 9 words I don't understand.
Autumn? What the fuck is a season, dude? I live underground.
Well, we'll give that point to Brennan, especially because ain't no one getting that one anyway. And that's that. And we will go on to our second shiny question. This is a game called Needs More Pixels. So what we're going to do is, in just a moment, we're going to put an image up on the screen. This is an iconic image from TV or film, but we have pixelated it all to hell. Really, really going to be hard to discern what it is. We have 5 layers, I think it's 5, of gradually increasing clarity. Now, for the purpose of the shiny question, you can only guess once. So you can either swing early, right? And if you think you know the answer, you can buzz in. If no one wants to take that risk, we'll go to the next level of clarity, and so on until someone gets it. If the other 2 people buzz in before you guess, it will automatically go 1 level clearer for the last person remaining, and so they'll get a handicap if 2 people like swing and just totally whiff it. Let's take a look at that image. Can you identify what this is? So you can either guess, or if you want to pass, if all 3 of you pass, or if one of you guesses wrong, we'll move to the next level of clarity.
I'm gonna pass.
Erika's passing.
Pass.
Goots is pass. All right, let's go 1 level clearer.
I'll pass.
Pass.
Oh, pass.
Okay, 3 passes. Let's go 1 level clearer. It's getting a little clearer. We're getting a little bit more here. Eric, you're buzzing in, but immediately
Actually, that is Super Metroid.
That is not Super Metroid. Sorry to say. You've used your guess. Goots and Brennan, are you guess, or do you want to try to go clearer?
I'll go clearer.
I'm gonna pass.
All right, so 2 passes. Let's go 1 level clearer here.
Oh, damn it. God damn it.
That is Brennan just before Goots.
And you'll be with Totoro.
That is indeed from My Neighbor Totoro. There it is. Let's go ahead and see those last moments of clarity. This little iconic scene of Totoro at the bus stop out in the rain. That point will go to Brennan.
I used to watch this movie in Japanese when I was like 2 years old, multiple times a day for like from like age 2 to 3. It was the only thing I wanted to watch.
Like not understanding it, but just sort of like enjoying the art and just like watching what was going on.
Yeah, I didn't speak English either. It was great. I was like, I was an infant. I was tiny.
Here we are coming out of our second shiny question. 4 points for Goots, 3 points for Brennan, 1 point for Erika, and we got a couple more questions left. Watership Down is an epic tale about rabbits. Fiver, Hazel, and other rabbit characters occasionally speak words in Lapine, a rabbit language that is also used as a lingua franca among woodland creatures. Some examples of Lapine words include hrududu, meaning car, hrer, meaning many, and silfle, meaning above ground grazing.
Actually, that's not the lingua franca of the other woodland creatures. It's unique to rabbits.
That is correct. Do you know what the lingua franca is?
Oh, I don't.
I will give you the point unless someone, probably Brennan, maybe. Do you know what the lingua franca of the other creatures are?
Oh, God. Actually, there is some language that is based on Frith, who is the sun god who created all the creatures, and there is some Frith-based language that all the other creatures speak, because in the lore of Watership Down, the reason creatures have defining characteristics is literally because of the disrespect performed to Frith by El Herrera in the creation myth. So weirdly, within the cosmos of Watership Down, creatures are delineated as rabbits and non-rabbits because every single creature who's not a rabbit has something in common, which is that they had a gift given to them by the creator to spite rabbits.
No.
I deserve a point on merit. There's nothing to do with the question. I know this book back to front. I just don't know what the fucking lingua franca is.
So I'll give that point to Goots for identifying that there is a lingua franca. There is a lingua franca that's hedgerow. Hedgerow is used occasionally when they're greeting strange other species. They almost immediately revert back to Lapine.
I literally know the words for fox and cat in Lapine. I know like more Lapine words than you said.
Well, here we are. We'll move on to our next question. We all know Captain America, but who's protecting our friendly neighbors to the north? Captain Canada is a Canadian superhero who debuted in the 1970s. While there have been several iterations of the character, the first was Tom Evans. Evans was given superpowers by aliens and uses his strength to protect Canada in the strange, distant future of 1993, where Canada is the most powerful country in the world. Brennan.
I'll get a start. I'll take a stab at this.
Yeah.
Actually, Canadians, even Canadians in a fantastical future, Canada's still not a superpower, even in their own self-fantasy of this alternate future.
I love that guess, but that is incorrect. It does take place with a powerful 1993 Canada. Yes, Erika.
Actually, he's not given his power by aliens. He's just an old-fashioned super serum, just
Correct.
like Captain America.
Yeah, he gets it from aliens. Goots is buzzed in. We'll give Goots this last guess, and then we'll just call it.
Actually, we don't all know Captain America. I mean,
that's not what
some of us aren't nerds.
The answer I was looking for here is the character description that I just gave you was in fact for Captain Canuck, which is a completely different character from Captain Canada. Captain Canuck was created for Comely Comics of Winnipeg. Captain Canada is a different character created in 1979, appearing in the Captain Newfoundland comic.
I'm sorry, the comic is about Captain Newfoundland, and he is Captain Canada his boss? Like, what's going on? He's like
his boss probably be like admiral, like
it's like Captain. That's as high as you get, right? You're rocking it out there. Once the only thing you can change there is geography. No points for that one, and that's fine. Well, this will bring us to our last shiny question of the game. All right, this is a game that we're going to call Apocalypse When. In just a moment, we're going to give you a couple different titles of post-apocalyptic stories, and we're going to want to put them in chronological order from when these stories occur. So when is the end of the world according to these stories? You'll see all the options there. If you think you know what the first one is, buzz in. And so we'll gradually fill in the full timeline. There's going to be 6 titles here, 6 ends of the worlds. So let's take a look at those titles. Here we have it. Some modern stories, some older stories, some video games, some movies, some books. We got all kinds of stuff here. Yes, Brennan has buzzed in first. What you got?
Actually, I'm going to say Terminator.
Terminator is actually the first apocalypse here. That Terminator Skynet Day is 2003. So we'll move on to number 2. Buzzing in for number 2. What comes after that? Let's see. That is Brennan again.
Now I'm going to say The Last of Us.
That is correct. Last of Us is the next one. In 2013 is The Last of Us. Brennan, buzzing in again.
Now I'm going to say Snowpiercer.
Snowpiercer is correct. The Ice Age was triggered in 2014. The events of the movie take place in 2031. Brennan, then Erika, then Goots.
Actually, I'm going to say WALL-E.
It is not WALL-E. So Erika. And then
actually, Mary Shelley's Last Man.
Mary Shelley's The Last Man is the next one. That takes place from 2073 to 2100. Brennan, what is our 5th apocalypse?
Now I'm going to say WALL-E.
Now it is indeed WALL-E. WALL-E takes place in the 29th century, making the last one Horizon Zero Dawn, which takes place in the 31st century. This is the way the world ends, not with a cyborg, but with dinosaur robots. That is Brennan with 4 of those identified, Erika with 1, so that point will go to Brennan. Neck and neck here. Goots with 5, Brennan with 4, Erika with 1. And our last question, as always, concerns real-life skills. Driving an automatic transmission means you don't have to worry about changing gears. Just set it to drive, park, neutral, or reverse. Yes, Brennan.
Actually, those things are a type of changing gears.
I mean, they are, but you don't have to. Brennan, no, we're not doing it. I can't.
Crazy. It's crazy that I come in here, I dunk every time, and miraculously the ref comes in and says I'm wrong.
I will start this question over, and we'll see where we wind up. Driving an automatic transmission means you don't have to worry about changing gears. Just set it to drive, park, neutral, or reverse. But some automatics have a D3 gear. This keeps your car from shifting above 3rd gear and is therefore useful for driving in stop-and-go city traffic and going uphill. The regular drive gear should be used for driving on freeways and going downhill. Brennan.
Sorry, wait. I did already guess. I don't want to be a dick, but
that's okay. That guess was bad. You can guess again.
Actually, regular drive should not be used going downhill.
That is close enough to the answer that we're going for that I'll give you the point there. So it's not incorrect to say that you can't use drive going downhill. Of course you can. People do it all the time. But D3 is also a good choice for going downhill because you can wear out your brakes less if you're in the D3 gear when you're going down steep hills. So that point will go to Brennan. That makes our final score for this episode. 5 for Brennan, 5 for Goots, 1 for Erika, meaning that Brennan and Goots are tied for first place here in this all-star episode. What a nail biter. What a great one. Thank you so much for joining us here. I hope you join us next time for even more pedantic corrections here on Actually.